citizens of Johnstown as they face trials and tribulations. We would ask your blessing on our first responders, on our police and firemen as they keep us safe. And that would you bless us and bless our village going forward. In your holy name, amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Right.
We are going to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing court action with our legal counsel. I guess we're gonna leave the room and go next door.
Chip, we invite Teresa, please.
Yes.
We have myself, Teresa, Jack,
Yeah.
and
I don't know
who
who
had
else.
last time, or did Dana, did you do it?
Wasn't.
Mm.
I had left.
Yeah, it's on account.
A good call out.
I think Dana should be there as well,
Okay,
Okay.
well, whatever you suggest.
if you would, please.
Okay. Do we need a motion to do that? Okay,
I'll make a motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing pending or imminent court action with legal counsel with all of Village Council, Jim Leonard, Jack Liggett, Teresa Monroe, Yaz, and Dana.
Second.
then moved and seconded. Teresa, we call the roll.
Doug Lehner,
Yes.
Henley,
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Cheryl Robertson,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren.
We're gonna go next door for a few minutes. Stay tuned.
Can't take notes and Yaz is taking all his notes.
Yeah, I'm not gonna take any notes.
You cannot take notes.
Nope.
Probably
Here.
It's not like rabbits.
Ready? Okay.
Motion to come back out.
We're
We
gonna
just-
resume our council meeting
7:24.
at 7:24. I don't think we need to give any kind of report,
You can't.
and we will move on. First up is action on minutes for July the 6th. Are there any additions or corrections?
Move they be approved as read.
Marvin has moved it. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Teresa, you want to call the roll?
Yes, Bentley,
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Cheryl Robertson,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren,
Yes.
Doug Lanner.
Yes.
Okay, next up is correspondence. We had a correspondence from the Bureau of Liquor Control, Ohio Division of Liquor Control. This is for the horseshoe, the new horseshoe. And it's
The new old horseshoe.
transfer, the new old horseshoe.
Yeah.
And it's the new, it's the transfer of the existing license. to them.
Hearing no objections, we'll just not do
Yeah.
anything.
I don't have any objection. No.
There's no
Heard
request
any.
for a hearing.
What's that?
No request for a
No
hearing.
request for a hearing.
I'll let them know.
If you can let them know, Teresa.
Will do.
Next up is citizen commenters on matters not on the agenda. Being no citizens in attendance, so I guess we have no comments, and we will move on. Council committee reports, and I would ask that these be kept brief. Planning and zoning, we had a joint meeting with planning and zoning. And Bailey, you wanna?
The joint session was to talk about and provide council comments on the design standards draft. It went very well, and I'd like to thank council for their comments because they were all very much appreciated. And then our regular meeting was just a work session on the zoning ordinance draft. So that went well as well.
Great. Okay, next meeting is the 27th. In the council in here at 6:30 here. Safety and service met on the 6th. The next meets on August the 3rd, and we heard about that last time. Finance committee met this evening. Ben. You wanna
We
report?
will
Give us a little report.
make this quick here. In terms of actions that we took, we appropriated the funds for the trailhead parking lot paving and what fund that's going to be coming from. Main Street tree trimming, appropriated, voted to move forward with that, and the funds they were coming from replacing Oliver Bigelow's headstone over by the cemetery by the American Legion. And moving forward with that, we will see some action on increasing both the general fund and the CIP fund anticipated revenues because of how our income tax receipts have been outpacing what we projected. So anticipating some more funds to be able to utilize to pay for some of these items and other future items that'll come up. We voted to move forward with Jack hiring another street department employee for this year, and we'll budget for next year as well. We will have some quotes at the next meeting, at least some more discussion about the generator here at the admin building, as well as the generator for lift station 1 and potential conversion, if not now, then in the future, from diesel to natural gas for uninterrupted workage in the case of an outage or something to that effect. We voted to move forward with spending bonded funds for engineering and design for the Duncan Plains water loop that would loop around 62 to Duncan Plains and bridge the gaps for the new enterprise center over there. And then the only other item, just to bring to everybody's attention, we had the energy aggregation conversation in safety and service and sent it to finance for further discussion, but
hearing Jim's update today, the county is opting to not move forward this year with the energy aggregation, but defer it to next year with some issues they were having in Newark with some constraints they had there. So no more
I'm
conversation.
gonna make a phone call to the law director real quick. I'll be right back.
Other than that, I think that was it for finance.
Any questions for Ben? Hearing none, we're gonna move on. Economic development was canceled.
Should be.
Next meets on the 5th of August.
Mhm.
Park and Rec met on the 8th of July. I don't know. Bailey, you want to take this one?
Yeah, we talked about the active transportation plan. The village will be receiving funds from Licking County Health Department, creating healthy communities to put in some bike racks and a bike fix-it station at Bigelow Park. Those have been ordered and should be delivered within the next 3 to 6 weeks.
Great.
We talked about the TAP grant, which I think we're going to try and reapply in October for Raccoon Creek Park. And we talked about the Johnstown Trailhead updates. The dog park right now is scheduled for August 16th.
Questions for Bailey? Hearing none, we'll move on. The tree commission met on the 27th. Oh, no, wait. It next meets on the 27th of July.
Yeah.
Marvin, you got anything to report?
Well, it's already been approved. The money's been approved. We had an arborist come in and give us a price on trimming all the trees down Main Street that we voted on last time and trimming a big oak tree over in the dog park. So that's a go. So, and we're gonna plant some trees over. When Jax gets through with the parking lot over there, I think we're gonna plant some trees along that patch there of weeds next to the neighbor. We got some people that's about donating trees.
Actually, Carol and I are both going to donate a tree.
Chip.
Oh, good.
I'm
Jim.
doing one.
Okay.
What type of trees are you putting in over there?
To be determined.
To be determined.
We're going to put that on the tree commission agenda.
Yeah, if you want to put it on the
Okay.
How many trees do you need? I'll donate one.
5.
There's 4.
Got 4.
About
Okay,
250.
how many more we need?
Huh?
It's about 250.
What?
$250.
I'll donate one from my family. How's that?
That's fine.
Okay.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Any questions? The tree commission? If not, we're going to move on. Ben, anything for the events committee that's going to have a meeting on 4th of August?
August 4th is purely going to be a hindsight meeting for the fireworks event and everything like that. So we'll include the broader group. The school board representatives that were there through the conversations, the fire department, the police department, the vendors, the food vendors that were there, anybody who had, and we've already solicited feedback from the food vendors, but anybody who had any feedback for us to better help understand what went well and what we can build on for the coming year.
Great. Questions for Ben? Hearing none, we'll move on. Next up are director reports. Dana, you're up.
I'll add 2 real quick while Dana's pulling it up. On
Okay.
the ED committee, our new Grillicking County director will be in attendance.
Oh, great.
On August 5th, Alexis Fitzsimmons, someday. So she reached out to me. So if anybody else wants to join, or we can stream it. So.
Okay, I have my report pulled up. Sorry about that. I have, we've collected 61% of our income tax revenue for the year, and we're halfway through the year. So that is looking in great shape. And I explained to the finance committee this evening that for income tax, we're looking at receiving an additional 300,000 by the end of the year. And that's my estimation based on current trends. Let's see here. My notes on revenue and expense. We have a new projection in the street construction state highway funds. It looks like we're going to have a surplus of $18,000 in those funds, but a shortfall in the gas tax. But I'll be putting together a projection of revenue for revenue replacement for the ARP funds. Aside from my typical notes, there's really not much left to explain. Oh, I will point out there is a $16,000 appropriation on tonight for legal fees, and that's for legal fees that are currently sitting on my desk to be paid. Also, we received the $267,000 payment, our first payment for the American Rescue Plan Act, and we received that on Monday, yesterday.
Questions for Dana? Anybody? Hearing none. Dana, thank you very much. Chief, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. Make it short and sweet. This pretty much is the end of Q2 report, so it's a very good snapshot of where you've been halfway through the year. If I'm looking at service calls, are roughly staying very consistent with about 1,200 service calls ran per month, and roughly 37 minutes average per event. Again, very consistent as far as the type of service calls we're running. The type of calls we ran last month. Keep going, Jim. One more, please. You can see right there, if there's any questions about that, there was a 22% decrease in service calls over May. The crime mapping, this shows where all the police reports were taken in Johnstown. So all of those little markers are physical police reports that are taken in Johnstown, and you guys are able to see a snapshot of what that looks like throughout Johnstown. Allocated time that officers are spending doing their job in different tasks. And next month, I'm really going to highlight this because I've got enough data now where I can basically look at several months and kind of put a history together. But as a whole, we're staying very consistent, other than there's a little bit more usage on sick time because we had an employee that was out for several weeks, and training because training and vacation, a lot of people are taking vacation during the summer. And there was some officers that were doing week-long trainings in Opata. Traffic stops are relatively consistent. No concerns that I've noted there. Training, I do want to touch bases on real quick. This month's training, we did training in OC, which is a chemical pepper spray that we would use for part of our use force continuum. This was taught by one of our officers. So it's my plan to basically get officers that are training our own. Ultimately, my goal is to create a department where we're training other departments as well as training our own internal departments. Creating that job equality and job enrichment, and then ultimately it's going to be for a succession plan. If something were to happen to me, I need to train everybody in the department to basically run the department. So as I move forward, that's what my end goal is with the amount of training that's happening. It was a very busy month as far as special projects and staffing. I do want to touch bases really quick on the municipal tent. Thank you so much, council and Mr. Jim Leonard, for putting the first ever municipal tent together. I'm pleased to say that we were, just by the tent, we were able to reunite 2 lost children and reunite them with their families, which is absolutely fantastic. It was a 5 to 6 year old male and a 6 to 7 year old female that, again, were lost, found the tent, and were able to reunite with their parents. So those 2 events right there definitely made it worth it. That was during the Fireman's Festival. Here's a snapshot of the parade. We did a fantastic job in the parade. I think we can maybe clean the times up a little bit more, but as a whole, we only disrupted the community for about 15 minutes. So as a whole, I think we did a very good job. With some planning next year, I think that we can even shorten that down just a little bit more. Independence Day celebration was a huge success. This picture shows one of the auxiliary officers, Officer Stanner, has assisted with the flags. The Legion had reached out and said, hey, we would like it if an officer can help with that every time, because they enjoyed officers out there.
That's Rutherford, sir.
Oh, sorry.
Rutherford, not Stanner.
Yeah, Ed Rutherford, I'm sorry. Thank you, sir. And we did very good as far as traffic. There was no physical violence. There was no crimes that happened out there, no lost property, no accidents. And we were able to get the traffic completely let out of the high school in under 20 minutes, which was very good. And I think we can actually tighten it up a little bit more next year as well. Social media is pretty much up right across the board. Fleet, looking good there. The main thing that I wanted to report is from this time to last year, we're spending about $550 more per month in gas. There's been a significant increase in gas. And I think that might want to be considered reflected next year as we go into the new year. Other news, we have implemented our body worn camera systems. The biggest improvement for this is going to be in the past, those had to be docked by supervisor, and the supervisor was the only person that had control of those. Now the officers can download them on their own. The vehicles are wirelessly uploaded as soon as they enter the garage, and then an officer can look at their own events, make their own copies for court. So basically it frees that supervisor up and it really increases productivity across the department. In addition to that, the new system also reports the GPS location of where those officers are at and how they're commuting through the city. So if you can see in this map here, on this particular day during this shift, this officer pretty much drove every street in Johnstown. So it gives me a good snapshot of what the officers are doing in the community. I can say that they're driving 4,000 miles a month, which they are. And then here's the proof of where they're spending those 4,000 miles at in the community. That is all that I had. Any questions?
Questions for the chief?
Just one question, the fuel cost, just out of curiosity, do you think the fuel cost is because of the actual cost per gallon increase or because of the amount of miles being driven?
I'm going to say that's the price of gas is up.
The price of
substantially.
gas purely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
No further questions. We'll move on. Thank you
Thank you.
very much. Great report. Okay, next up is, we'll move to legislation. Ordinance 07-2021, we're gonna leave on the table. Because I was informed tonight it's not ready yet.
We should leave the other one on the table.
Our staff had a meeting about it, and there's just a lot of things that
This is the wage and salary.
were not anticipated that we gotta work through, so it's just not ready yet.
It's not ready. So we'll leave it on the table.
Request that we leave the other one on the table for another meeting.
And I respectively disagree on that, Marvin.
Okay.
Right now, we don't have anything and we need something for safety. I mean, to secure what we've got. What we could do, because I know you guys have some other questions, is pass it as is, but continue to make changes through amendments. That way, if a builder comes in, we at least have some standards there.
Fine.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I know, I think Doug, didn't you have some
Think I'm gonna
concerns?
sash you?
I hope not.
So anyhow, so we need a motion to take resolution 2021-21 off the table.
So move.
I'll
Been
second.
moved and seconded. Discussion.
I'd,
Oh,
oh,
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
all right.
I would just say of those that are up here at the table, I've probably been in front of this document the longest. So it's been out there for quite a while. I know it's not a perfect document by any means. Looking at the interim guidelines that we have right now, or pared down from our previous strategic plan, I think there's 10 pages, 12 pages of interim design guidelines. And this, again, though not perfect, it at least incorporates guidelines and standards to the tune of 100 pages. So it's much more comprehensive. Still is a very fluid document, but at least gives some guidance and some more concrete approaches to those looking to come into the village from those corridors. I do think that there's an area that could be tightened up with, land that's maybe annexed in and maybe some direct notation in there about how this document might affect that property specifically. I'm proud of it, and I'm proud to continue to chip away at it and make those adjustments as we need it. But I think it's a big step forward from where we are today.
So I guess we technically should move the resolution.
To take it off the table.
We already took it off the table.
Okay.
Now it's to
Adopt.
adopt the resolution. Do we have a motion to adopt the resolution?
So move.
Ben's moved it.
I'll second.
Cheryl.
I have something. And perhaps at the end of the meeting in other business, we could hear like Doug's. Doug, you had some comments on it? We could hear Doug's
Unless you want 'em
comments.
now.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
How long are they?
yeah, how long?
Not that
It doesn't
long.
matter. It's gonna take the same amount of time either way.
Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, go
I think
ahead.
I'll be,
Go ahead.
So I think what I would like to see is the albatross be addressed that's actually out here in the community right now. I think the biggest one is a new development coming into Johnstown.
Mhm.
Since I've been on council and very grateful to be here and hope to continue to be here, that's the one thing I hear a lot about is all the new developments.
Mhm.
It seems like we need to tighten that up, whether it be in these new standards, review standards, and possibly in conjunction with tightening up some things in planning and zoning and taking a real hard look at that and making those documents work together.
Mhm.
I just, if we're okay with that and we can come up and planning and zoning can come up with an outline as to how we're going to address certain things, it may help all of us in this room address those and get answers that we're looking for, but also to keep that on track so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. So if we're okay with that and we can agree to that, I think that would satisfy my concerns. As I was out collecting signatures the last couple of weeks, that's one of the biggest things that I hear. You know, not another, what are you guys doing about another development? We don't, go ahead.
I
Yes,
just
sir.
would point out that not one additional lot has been approved in the village of Johnstown in the last 10 years. So that, I use that when people hit me with, what are you doing about this? Is that we haven't approved a new plat of land
Right.
in 10 years, building on the ones that were approved years ago.
But I think also why I think everything should tie together is I know Bailey did a really good job of coming up with a comprehensive plan. And the last development company that came out of Cincinnati, the gentleman stood at the podium right there and he kept referring back to the comprehensive plan as keeping Johnstown rural. When I look at it, and I may be, I don't know how to describe it, but I was born and raised in a 220 acre cornfield, was the only house was my mom and dad's house. To me, that's rural. That doesn't mean that that's what rural is. That's my definition of rural, but I can certainly sympathize with others that think that less than a quarter of an acre, a lot, building lot with a house on it, is probably not rural. And so are we going to maintain the rural feel, or are we going to go down the path of getting into where we're going to be a Westerville, Gahanna, New Albany, where you can reach out your window and touch your neighbor's house? So those are the kind of things I think still need to be addressed. And I think as long as we have that outline and we know that we're making steps to that and we're okay to make amendments to this document, I would feel a lot better in that.
Ben or Bailey, can you address how would this, I think we all are concerned about new development, PUDs, where they can come in and, whatever's agreed upon, which then I think at this point, they don't have to follow anything. Where would that fit? And does that fit in the design review? Does it fit in the zoning? Where does that control what we want?
Well, this document wouldn't cover things such as density or lot size. It does cover the design. We've tightened up the design required a lot. And it also, so this document specifically doesn't require a design plan, but I don't know if you guys remember, but you approved an amendment to Chapter 1187 at the last meeting, which does require every new development to submit a design plan and have that approved through the design review board. So it wouldn't be it's sort of like a certificate of appropriateness, but certificate of appropriateness is for one structure. A design plan would be for the entire development. So the idea would be that the developer would bring a booklet to the design review board that shows the design plan, possibly for 5 different styles of houses. And the design review board would get to comment on that and approve it or not approve it. And so that's a new thing that we haven't had before. And this document really allows us to police that and make sure that developers are following those standards.
And when you talk about PUDs and developments like that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but several years ago, we also passed an update to planning and zoning to where those types of agreements would come from planning and zoning to council as a recommendation. And so previously, planning and zoning was the end of the road or step one of two steps. Whereas now council has a say at the recommendation of planning and zoning. So we haven't exercised that aspect of it yet, but that would be a new piece if it were to ever come through and come to a vote in planning and zoning for a PUD type of development. To that end, I think there is something maybe in here that we could add that would denote within the design review standards, because this oversees certain overlay districts and corridors and things like that, that maybe specifically says in some way, shape or form that is the intent of the commission and council that, you know, the supplemental design review piece that specifically has to do, I think, with what a lot of what you called out, Cheryl, about housing development and stuff like that, that those types of standards should be referenced when a conversation is happening with a developer for a PUD or some kind of annexation. So at least there's some kind of direction for the design review board as to what to look at to apply those standards or guidelines.
Ben, how would we add that? I mean, could we get that added quickly? And
I
then-
mean, I had a note in here that on page, I have 54, right before the supplemental design standards, that, you know, you can maybe even add something that the following shall reflect the intent of council and commission to apply to annex areas defined by the closest related zoning designation in that, you know, house to house or commercial to commercial, something to that effect. So it may not be covered directly in a map in an overlay district, but the housing standards that are outlined in here would be the basis for what you would have as a conversation for design review for an annexation or a PUD. So at least notates that it's the intent of the commission and council that this be used.
Okay. Can we, Bailey, can we get that done like pretty quick? That
Yeah.
change?
I could probably get that done within the next few days.
So then
We can
at
make
the
it even
next
as a
meeting,
conditional aspect of tonight.
we could do
if you
that
wanted to,
tonight
Right?
or not?
You just have to say
You just have to reaffirm the motions with that condition.
upon the
That would be
condition.
an editorial
can pass
change.
that
after
as
the
a-
fact.
Amendment to that at the next meeting?
Yeah,
You can pass this tonight and then add that as amendment.
You could do that or make it an editorial change in the document itself.
Planning and zoning sometimes does that. If we're approving like ordinances, they'll say, well, can you just change the sentence or add a sentence? And then they'll make the motion to approve with the condition that the suggested edits are included.
It's like a condition you apply to a variance. It's a condition you apply. to it.
You can do that, Ben.
That's fine. But that would be the general intent, is that it's the intent of council. We can put in their commission, but I would think with passing of this, that would be their intent as well, but the
Mhm.
intent of council and commission, that this document be utilized for the basis for conversation for supplemental design guidelines for any annex area or developments that aren't included on the map. Something to that effect.
We're
would be the
making
word.
that amendment to your original motion.
I think,
I will use that as a new motion to approve with that wording on page 54 or thereabouts. I think you understand the intent.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second
Okay, it's moved and seconded. We're gonna vote on.
Did you
With,
say
with the
again?
condition.
with
The
the condition.
Okay, so that's what we're gonna vote on.
The intent is to add into this a statement saying that it's the intent of council and commission to apply these standards to annexed areas that essentially aren't currently defined on the map itself. They would apply to a PUD or anything else. that
Everybody
would come
new
in.
coming in. Fine with that.
You good with it, Marvin?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. Lisa, we call the roll.
Yes. Marvin Block,
yes,
Cheryl Robertson,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren. Yes. Doug Laner,
Yes.
Ben Lee.
Yes,
Resolution is approved. And move on. Next up is ordinance. Find my place. Thank you, Bailey, for all your hard work on the design.
Thank you.
Shouldn't go without saying. Now, wait a minute.
It was 27.
Okay, so that was 21. Oh, here we go. Ordinance 27-2021. An ordinance amending chapter 1105 of the Village of Johnstown Codified Ordinances. And this is Bailey. This is you.
Yes, this ordinance is in regards to chapter 1105, which talks about the preliminary plats the requirements for a preliminary plat. Currently, the ordinance does not require a preliminary utility plan for any preliminary plat applications. And planning and zoning and myself thought it would be a good idea to have that be included because it is pretty important in how the development would work and its effect that it has on the community. So this ordinance just adds that in as a requirement for a preliminary plat application.
Well, tonight we have to have a public hearing and a vote. So first, I need to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Ben's moved the ordinance. Is there a second?
No second.
Sharon has seconded. We'll now move to a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing. I'll close the public. And now we'll move to a vote and discussion. Any discussion? Hearing none. Teresa, you want to call the roll?
Cheryl Robertson,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren,
Yes.
Doug Lehner,
Yes.
Ben Lee,
Yes.
Marvin Block.
Yes.
The ordinance is approved. Next up is ordinance 31-2021, ordinance approving the editing and inclusion of certain ordinances as parts of the various component codes of the codified ordinances of Johnstown, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. Teresa, this is in your bailiwick.
It is. So last council meeting, you passed the annual update that we do. Since then, the water and sewer ordinances were passed among maybe one or two more. So I thought that they shouldn't wait. A lot of people refer to those costs. And I didn't want to wait another year before they were codified and out there in the public.
Good call.
So we are going to do this. It's already going to be an emergency. So we're dispensing with the second reading.
I'll move to waive the second reading.
Ben has moved to forego the second reading.
Second.
And it's been seconded by Marvin. So I guess we need to vote on that first.
Yes, please.
Teresa.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren, Doug Lehner,
Yes.
Ben Lee,
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Cheryl Robertson.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if somebody will make a motion to approve the ordinance.
I so move.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We have to have a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing. If there's nobody here, I will close the public hearing. And if there's any further discussion, hearing none, Teresa, we call the roll.
Yes. Sharon Hendren,
Yes.
Doug Lehner,
Yes.
Ben Lee,
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Cheryl Robertson,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher.
Yes. Ordinance is approved.
Yep.
Resolution 2021-26, a resolution authorizing the village manager to award for water treatment plant expansion, design services, and fees. Jack.
Yes, as you know, we sent out requests people to do the design of the water plant. We had 2 interviews, DNN and Jacobs, both very capable and good. Very satisfied. But at the end, Jim and I's discussions, we'd like to Jacobs. Thought they had a really impressive presentation. They have very good people on staff. Very familiar with construction. So basically, this is to get the ball rolling on the new water plant. And, it works easy. Would be my suggestion that we kind of do the same thing that we did on the wastewater department, but the plan one needs to come out. Do you have any problem with that? That way there'll be no delay and can get started on the plan.
In the second and third phase, that fee's negotiated once we know what phase one tells us. So there is going to be more design fees. We just don't know
What they are.
what we don't know. So that'll come later on.
So tonight we've introduced it. We have to make a motion to approve.
I so move. Oh,
First up is a motion to approve it.
I so
Norman
move.
has moved to the resolution. Need a second.
Second,
Okay. Now we have to have a public hearing, so I'll open the public hearing. I'll close the public. Any further discussion? Questions? From council members? If not, Teresa, call the roll.
Doug Laner,
Yes.
Ben Lee,
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Cheryl Robertson,
yes.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren.
Yes.
You know, I might just add that it was an excellent presentation. I read through this. I feel really confident in the work that Jacobs will do for the village. So, good job. Okay. Next up. Many pages in here, Teresa. Gotcha.
You know,
Okay, next up is resolution 2021-27. A resolution to approve an update to the job description for the executive assistant.
So this was part of our ongoing evaluations of our job descriptions and pay scales and all that other fun stuff. So one thing that came out of that was clear and concise is moving this position to a salary position. There'll be an increase in salary in compensation for any potential lost income due to overtime, but that is what this resolution does. Basically just changes it from hourly to salary. The long-term goal of adding a part-time person is leveraging Teresa's expertise and talents in more of the projects that we're doing between Jack and myself and Dana. So more to come on that, but we thought this was a good start to getting down that road.
So I will entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. I'm going to open a public hearing. I'm going to close the public hearing. Any further discussion, questions? Hearing none. Teresa, you want to call the roll?
Sure. Ben Lee,
Yes.
Marvin Block,
Yes.
Cheryl Robertson,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren,
Yes.
Doug Laner.
Yes.
Okay, resolution's approved. Resolution 2021-28, resolution to approve an update to the employee handbook. I know this has been a labor of love to put this handbook together, and it's finally complete. And tonight, we're gonna do a public hearing after it's introduced, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the handbook.
I would maybe ask, in the interest of due diligence and probably applicable for these two resolutions, that they be considered tabled and passed to Personnel Board of Review for review, and then some kind of feedback on the third, if possible, would be my suggestion. If that doesn't mess up any time frame with anybody else or anything else. But
So
Just
your motion is to table this resolution.
I'm kind of asking for consideration beforehand and maybe
Consensus.
a talk beforehand. If it messes up anybody's timeline, I've read through it and I've put some questions out there already, but thought that it might be good to go through a committee conversation back and forth
We
with.
can do that. I'm fine with
I
that.
don't think there's any,
If you have, you want to
Atomic-
do these both at the same time, is that the idea?
We can do them independently if there's,
Okay, let's do them independently.
I, as long as there's no deadlines looming from our directors, right?
No, none of mine.
And before I will express my appreciation to all the work that the directors, Teresa and everybody did on it, because we had some good conversations and it came out better in the end because of those conversations. Not everyone agreed, but everybody was respectful of others' opinions, which is the first and foremost assumption on my part is that's what we need to do. So it was fun.
Can I say something here, Jim? I think what Ben's wanting to do is just have a committee go over it, put their stamp approval on it.
Yep.
Quick changes or anything like that. So you
Fine.
got another entity or another group of officials saying, yeah, you done the right thing. Right. Ben?
Best part of my job is take direction from you all. So I'll do it.
My synopsis of what you said.
Absolutely. I mean, finance does it with anything financial that comes through. I think this is one of those that for personnel board of review, if those members that are present here feel it applicable to do so.
We can do
The
it.
amount of time and effort and energy that everybody's put into these two documents to give it full attention. That was the intent. Yeah.
So
problem.
you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to table resolution 2021-28 and send the personnel board of review for investigation, hopefully some feedback by the third, so we can take it off the table.
Been moved. Is there a second?
A second.
Sharon, second. Teresa, will call the roll.
Yes. Marvin Block,
Yes.
Cheryl Robertson,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren,
Yes.
Doug Lehner,
Yes.
and Lee.
Okay.
Yes.
I have a question. This is for Jack. I was reading about this at 29 years. How long you been here, Jack?
40.
Have you really? Really? 40?
Thank you.
Jeez. Can you imagine
Okay.
40 years? What-
Next up is,
Says it with such gusto.
once I find
Yep.
it. Okay,
That's
resolution 2021-29, resolution to adopt a police department agreement manual. So we would do the same, your recommendation is to do the same thing.
correct.
So I'll entertain a motion to table the resolution.
I'll make a motion to table resolution 2021-29 and send the personnel board of review for
We
further
have a second.
investigation.
A second.
Been moved and seconded. Teresa, is there discussion? Teresa, you want to call the roll?
Yes. Cheryl Robertson,
Yes.
Mayor Dutcher,
Yes.
Sharon Hendren,
Yes.
Doug Lehner,
Yes.
and Lee,
Yes.
Marvin Block.
Yes.
Chief, we will not take long. We will see how fast we can get this committee to meet and we will,
Who's on it if I can ask?
I'm on it and Carol's on it and Marvin, I think, the three of us.
That was Marvin, Cheryl,
No, it's Carol.
It's Carol.
and Carol.
I'm not
Yeah.
on it. No, I'm not
I
on it.
thought it was Carol.
It's Carol.
I knew Carol was
Three
on.
of us, I think, right?
Okay.
Yes.
I don't have my cheat sheet with me, so I'm
I
not
think
really
I'm-
totally
I know I'm
100%
on
sure, but I'm
I
pretty
went-
sure Carol.
Last time we went through this. Which we can get together quickly. And get these taken care of.
We
Any
expect
idea
you to
when
go
you
home and
wanna-
read it tonight.
Probably tomorrow.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Got an appointment tonight.
And I gotta find the next one because,
30, 20, 21.
well, I have to find the
Appropriation.
page.
Be the last
On
one.
page
And all
2.
these handbooks in here, it makes this hard document to maneuver.
I didn't even print the whole thing.
I know. All right, next up is ordinance 30-2021. Ordinance amending ordinance 34-20, the appropriations or annual appropriation ordinance of the Village of Johnstown to approve necessary changes of appropriations. Dana,
Yes, this is pretty self-explanatory. It's just an appropriation to increase the legal fees for bills that I have on my desk to be paid.
they're okay if we're just gonna introduce it tonight and have a public hearing and a vote on the 3rd of August.
Yes, that's fine.
So consider it introduced. Next up. It's other business. Anybody have other business?
I may not be here August 3rd, unfortunately. My company thinks they need me. I'm gonna try, but I don't
Okay.
know.
All right.
You've heard all about how bad the airlines is.
Yes, we,
You bring a slip on
Information.
your
Yeah.
pilot.
I'm gonna try to be here, but right now
Okay.
they got my schedule.
okay.
And I want to be at this one. It's gonna be a good meeting.
Oh, they're all good. Okay.
Just let Teresa know whenever you.
Anybody else have other business to bring before? Village?
Jim Blair, did you get any updates on 267 North Main? Okay, very good. Right. We'd whacked it. Cut it. Yeah. Oh, good luck. Thank you for doing that. Okay.
Anybody else? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Marvin has moved it. Is there a second?
A second.
All those in favor of adjourning, signify by
Aye.
saying aye.